Thanks for staying with us. About 60 members of the House of Representatives are currently seeking an amendment to the 1999 Constitution to transition from the current presidential system to the parliamentary system of government. Addressing a press conference at the National Assembly complex, the spokesman for the sponsors and member representing Kebe Tambuwal constituency in Sokoto State, Abdul Samad Dasuki, said that when passed, it will significantly impact on the national political landscape tremendously. The lawmakers identified the need for reducing the cost of governance, better representation of the people, and robust policy debates, amongst others, as some of the reasons for demanding a return to the parliamentary system. The lawmakers, drawn from different party affiliations, anchored their positions on the needs to adopt a parliamentary system at the federal, state, and local government levels.
Despite several alterations to the Constitution to address the shortcomings of a system that has denied the nation the opportunity of attaining its full potentials, among these imperfections are the high cost of governance, leaving fewer resources for crucial areas like infrastructure, education, and healthcare, and consequently hindering the nation's development progress, and the excessive powers vested in members of the executive who are appointees and not directly accountable to the people. The bills that were presented today for the first reading seek a return to the system of government adopted by our fathers, which made governance accountable, responsible, and responsive.
We expect that the process may not necessarily terminate with the current administration. In actual fact, we expect that it will even go beyond 2027. But what is important is that we have set the ball rolling. And so it may go as far, the actual commencement may even be 2031.
Okay. Associate Professor of Law, Dr. Sam Amadi, is here to unlock this developing story. Very warm welcome to Newsnight, Sam.
Thank you.
Parliamentary system, that was what Nigeria practiced in the First Republic, you know, leading to independence and post-independence period before the military interregnums. But calling for it at this time when Nigeria is done 25 years using the American system and the rest, how expedient is this? Is it, I mean, what are the advantages really?
I think empirical evidence is on their side. I mean, if you look at the performance of the economy between 1960 when we got independence, so let's say, up until when 66 thereabout, when the system was finally terminated and the Civil War then ended with 70 and the new military regime and all that, we had a stronger economy in terms of development, you know, in relative terms. If you look at state stability,
we practice regionalism.
That was part of the parliamentary regional. This is about government change, so it was better. In terms of state stability, the stability, forget the Civil War, one off the top, but essentially there more cohesion. You know, the political system was more stable in spite of the regional competition. So there is some argument to say, look, we've had very raw deal with presidential system of government, especially with the absence of good federalism and regional government. Again, evidence from literature of political development, political history, political science shows that parliamentary systems are inherently more stable than presidential, because the fact that there is the parliamentary system with the parliaments elected and they themselves electing the president or whoever is the prime minister, as the case might be, or the model in Israel with some variation, the model in Germany, and many countries in the world are actually parliamentary. So in terms of state stability, the evidence in support of parliamentary system. But again, the cost of governance is a big issue here. And the question is, the shambolic democracy we run further makes parliamentary system almost laughable. The logic for parliamentary system of government, especially if you look at the Nwabueze's view during the constitutional drafting in the 79, was to have a system with the executive president, and who we use energy in the executive branch to drive development. So the merit of a presidential system of government is that the executive president becomes like chief executive and is developmental. But we've not seen that developmental, energy being exercised. So the cost of governance is high. We have two chamber, we have state assemblies, we have the president with the cabinet, and if you look at National Assembly, for example, like dual presidency, the Senate president with all the opportunities of power, with all the
accoutrement of power,
looks more like second president. So at the end of the day, you are really spending much, you're not achieving anything. And again, this move to parliamentary system, some people say it should be coupled with regional government. So a regional government creates some kind of sub-nationality with strong economic management, because they are going to be self-reliant. It's like in the 1960s, we had a competitive economy where regions are competing, trying to develop their own economy because they benefit. They have local control, local responsibility, local accountability. So, but what I think is that this is not going to be solved by a bill. And again, this is another point he raised I like. We have had almost nonsensical constitutional amendments. Under David Mark, I wrote a memo to them that to stop this yearly ritual of constitutional reform. Every year now they have constituted another group. They're going to spend billions going around on a show. If you watch the U.S. constitutional amendment, each of the 13th amendment, each of them span 4 years deliberation. Minimum years, they went to states. There were discourse in universities, discourse in public square and parliament, arguments. You don't amend the constitution by putting bills and then arranging some small movement here and there, and they take per diem, and then every year, every parliament, we amend things, we amend elections, we add more days, instead of 40 days for a case to finish, 60 days. That is nonsensical. It weakens the constitutional framework. And political science says clearly, if you amend the constitution too much, you become more unstable. If you watch the most stable democracies in the world, the British, you look at them, they have had the least kind of constitutional amendment.
Unwritten.
Or written or unwritten, including Americans, including German. So constitutions that are less frequently amended seem to guarantee
stabilize.
Because politicians know that this is not a ping pong. If you lose the election, you go and change the rules. PDP wins, they come and change the rules again. Labour Party probably wins, and then they now write their own constitution. So we have to stop this ritual of formulaic constitutional amendment. And if we want to change the constitutional form, like what they're saying, let's have robust discussions. Even if you don't have
national conference.
Yes, it might not be a sovereign.
Why?
It might not be a sovereign. It might be a national discourse spanning over many years. Let's not be in a hurry. So what these guys have said, interesting, is that look, let's now bring evidence-based arguments. Let them move away from the parliament and move to the media houses, move to discourse. The chairman, after the first day, he met me in my office, the chairman of that group, and he said, look, Abuja School should help them drive this conversation. It's a conversation. This system is not working, but we don't need to put it away, in a whimsical manner, cavalierly, just put it away and then bring something so parliamentary. No, we need to go through a process and ask ourselves, this is like a new founding for Nigeria.
Your branded.
This is a new founding. This is a moment of refounding. The U.S., look at U.S. history. They had several founding. They had Wayne Hamilton after the war. They had after the Civil War with Abraham Lincoln. Several founding. So at every moment, maybe we're at a point in Nigeria, we need to go back to as if we did 1959 Constitutional Conference in London. Bring on Nigerian stakeholders and say, look, let's rethink from evidence across the world. What model will serve us best? If you ask me, I think we need to have some kind of regional autonomy. We need to create localized leadership. We need to weaken like Abacha. We need to bring back Abacha's actual constitutional draft, because it was actually an intelligent constitution that even talked about power sharing in a very orderly manner. Each 5 years, multiple vice presidency. If you look at some countries, look, the president, vice president, Switzerland, for example, it's like rotation, So we need to sit back and rethink and say, look, given our unique characteristics, given where we are in the history of development, given how the world has changed around us, what model is time-tested to guarantee development and stability. I think this is what this group should now bring to scholars, bring people together, start building that consensus and argument, provide the evidence with paperwork, with position papers, and then funnel it to some kind of constitutional review over time.
As a scholar, very quickly, you know, before we go, as a scholar and as a lawyer, would it be out of place to take the Abacha 1989 constitution and look at some critical issues in the report of the 2014 Constitutional Conference and merge this? So we don't really need to go around the,
absolutely,
you know, put it out.
Yeah, you're right. See, so you have the document. The 2014 Constitutional Conference built on some of this. Abacha Constitutional Conference was great job. I've read through it. I've done audit for all this. The key thing here is that this group can say, okay, we constitute scholars. Look at this. Look at the evidence. Again, because it's a constitutional reform, you have to get popular buy-in, not by way of census or referenda or by way of voting, but by way of allowing people to have this conversation in their streets, in buses, based on the filtering of what these scholars are discussing. So it becomes popular, legitimate, but rigorous.
Well, the rigor Nigerians, I'm sure, are ready to go through that, you know, with what they are facing now. Anything that is going to ameliorate its good governance is what they demand.
Absolutely.
Thanks so very much, Dr. Sam Amadi, a rights analyst and a lawyer.